So today we're going to talk about price elasticity, and price elasticity is really the holy grail of price optimization, because the price elasticity of a product and the price elasticity of a product at different prices tells us how customers react to price changes and how price changes affect your most important KPI. So if you understand price elasticity well, you can do good price optimization. Price elasticity is a super hot topic at the moment. If you look at the mentioning of elasticity or price elasticity in boardrooms or earning calls of S&P 500 companies, you see a very much increasing trend. The Economist was sharing this graphic, which I found quite interesting. And why are so many investors asking managers about price elasticity? Because especially in a macro environment like ours with high inflation, you need to understand whether you can raise prices and by how much. And so they want to understand, do the managers of these companies look at this and understand this well? Now, today we're going to talk about what is price elasticity. We're going to look at the definition of it. We're going to talk about why it is important to look at it and understand it for pricing strategy. And we're going to talk about some examples to make it less abstract. How can you use price elasticity to apply pricing and price strategies? And then also we will share some information about how you can actually measure price elasticity. Before I get started with the core webinar content, let me give you a short introduction about 7 Learnings. So we are originally a spin-off of one of the Berlin universities where we work with a Center of Machine Learning and Robotics. Our CEO and co-founder, Felix, was formerly responsible for the pricing algorithm at Zalando. Today, we're working with a lot of leading customers in retail and helping them at pricing. We use our software at all relevant sales channels, online, offline, marketplaces, own shop, and we are active in all retail industries and segments. So what's price elasticity? Price elasticity of demand describes the change in demand for change in price. So it gives us the relation of the change of the price and what it will do to the change in quantity. Usually, price elasticities are negative. If I increase the price, I'm also going to sell less of a product. And if I understand how my quantity changes, I can derive also the impact on other KPIs that are important for me, especially on profit and also revenue. So I can use this to estimate the impact that a price change has on my main KPIs. And this is also what we are doing when we're talking about predictive pricing. And I will share some more information about that later on. But why should you look at price elasticity at all? Price elasticity helps you to understand your customer behavior. You can use it to identify products that are important to your customers and therefore critical to building your price image. So highly elastic products are usually products where the customer is sensitive about prices, obviously, and also they register a price change here because it changes their behavior. So it makes sense to usually be cheaper here, but we will talk about that later as well. Also, yeah, these items are usually items where they regularly compare prices. Actually, I think there are not that many products where people know the prices of by the back of the head, but there's still a couple, and you need to understand which products are these products so you can set the right prices here, which has an impact on your price image. You can use price elasticity also to calculate profit and revenue scenarios for different price point of a single item, of a quantity of items, or your entire assortment. And you can create a demand function and a chart of your demand curve. And we will look also later why this is important for certain products and how this will affect your pricing. As a summary, you can use it to design an automated and optimized demand-driven pricing strategy. That's why price elasticity is so important and essential to kind of today's state-of-the-art pricing discipline. Let's take a look at some examples and also what kind of generic price strategies you can use for products with a certain price elasticity. And this is very simplified, but actually there's a lot of truth in this. Now, let's look at an elastic product. Usually these products are comfort and luxury goods. Highly elastic products can also be key value items, and they usually also form the price image of the retailer. Now, what could be a generic price strategy for these products? You should have rather low or very competitive prices for these kind of items. Why? Because a lower price has a big effect on sales in this case, right? We have a higher elasticity, we have an elastic product, and that can lead to a higher absolute profit and a higher revenue. And that's usually what you're aiming for. So, and at the same time, you have this positive impact of your price image. Let's look at a product that is rather inelastic. That's typical products that are essential for life, constant demand, also usually less competition. For these kind of products, a generic strategy would be to have a higher price or use them also to increase price, to improve margin, but also increase absolute profit in this case, because even though you're raising the price, it doesn't have a huge impact on the quantity that you are selling. There are also other use cases or types of products where understanding price elasticity is important. One of these product types are items that we buy on stock and that we want to sell off over the life cycle of these items. Could be, for example, fashion products that are only relevant to a certain season, or this could be food products that spoil after a certain time. So in this case, when you do price optimization, you're not just taking profit and revenue into account, but you also want to ensure that you're hitting certain sell-through rate targets, so that you're selling off your stock at the right pace, and that you're not don't have too much overstock at the end of the season, or you're running out of stock in the middle of the season. Then you can use price elasticity to also understand the impact of price on the demand curve of this item. And then you can also consider sales targets or sell-through rate targets in your price optimizations. Now, another kind of product where price elasticities are important are very competitive products. Because, I mean, what we see a lot here is just to match competitor prices or to fix your position with a fixed rule to the competitor price. But usually just following the competition blindly, kind of the blind follows the blind, or just trying to be the cheapest is not a strategy, at least not a profitable strategy, and not a strategy that you can apply to a large part of your products. Price elasticity can help us here to find the right price position, taking competitor price into account. And what we usually have here as an economic effect as well is that price changes for these particular products have a huge impact on the profit of these items. And I want to underline this with a simple example. Just imagine you have a product that you're selling for 100 euros and you're selling this product with a 10% margin. And now you're able to increase the price by 1 euro. Let's say, for the sake of simplicity, your demand is not changing. But your profit is increasing in this case by 10%. Now let's take again a similar product, same price, but you have a 20% margin. If you now increase the price with the same effect by 1 euro, you're only increasing your margin by 5%. Yeah, so and that's also very true for very competitive items, that their margins are usually quite low. So finding a little bit better positioning and doing this by taking into account price elasticity can improve your profit significantly. So let's talk about how can you calculate price elasticities, and that's not easy. We have lots of factors that determine price elasticity. For example, the brand value, the inflation, the category you're selling, are there substitutes? What's the general state of the economy? All of these factors influence price elasticity. And also, if you want to measure it, you're usually looking at a sales effect. And the sales and your demand is also influenced by a lot of other factors, like what you're doing on the marketing side, for example, or what the seasonality. So you need a system that takes all of these factors into account and can isolate the price effect. The good thing is that today we have machine learning technology. And I want to share kind of our approach here of how we do this. So we're using, really looking at all of the relevant data that we need to understand demand forecasts, but also price elasticities. And just some examples here, we look at product attributes, for example, or transaction data, but also at what the competition is doing, seasonality factors, or weather data, to understand what data feature is driving sales, sale or demand changes, and what is the price effect, so the price elasticity, or the effect of a price change on demand to derive then price elasticity. Yeah. We're doing this using machine learning algorithm to forecast the impact of price changes. I want to also share, or I already talked about that. So we're using here the forecasting technology. And when you then also want to find the optimal prices for your targets, what we do is that we run optimizations on this. But I also want to share some more insights about some of the attributes that we're using to measure price elasticity, especially transaction data and price history is here important, because we can then detect what is the change in sales when the price changed. And then what we are also doing is that we're using attributes to understand what products are elastic and which products are not. For example, it might be that certain colors are more elastic than others, and then we can measure it, and then we can apply it to products that are being sold now, and derive a price elasticity of demand for these kind of products.